This is a walkthrough. Is walkthrough Call of Duty Call for My name is Face Ninja 25.
Alright, so Blackout is officially live. I have not even gotten past this menu because this looks so iconic, the classic Black Ops pose. I'm excited. Anyways, let's go. I honestly don't even want to read any of that. I just want to play. Okay, so we have quads. We have theater here. That's pretty nuts. Okay, all right, so quads. Do you have quads? Can you do something else? How about you can do solos? Yes, the character. Oh goodness, this looks crazy. Look at what? Fucking Menendez, Reznov, Mason. Dude, these are the zombies characters. Bro, that's crazy. And multiplayer characters. Alright, this is very, very interesting indeed. Let's see how well this runs. Hopefully it goes by smooth. It runs smooth. I want to assume if you have a PS4 Pro, maybe it'd be easier on you. Like, it might run smoother. That's what I want to say. But we'll see here.
Not this.
Hello, Call of Duty fans. This year we're trying something new. Because Call of Duty Black Ops 4's modes are so different, we're reviewing them separately, followed by our overall review and score. This part covers the entirety of Black Ops 4. Be sure to check out the individual reviews next. Savage UAV above. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 flung the series into a thrust-jumping, wall-running future. With Black Ops 4, we see this long-running series land in far more interesting terrain, even without a campaign. This year, Treyarch is leaning into robust multiplayer modes. Its excellent Battle Royale edition, Blackout, acts as a nice homage to everything in the Black Ops series. Combined with smart innovations to both zombies and multiplayer, Black Ops 4 is a strong entry in the series. However, persisting technical issues and a number of already stale multiplayer maps hold Black Ops 4 back from being an even greater package. Though there are significant changes to each mode's formula, the biggest change is Black Ops 4's lack of a classic campaign. This is certainly disappointing for some, but for me, Black Ops 4 gets along just fine without it. With 3 solid maps and new modes, Zombies has a meaty launch. Plus, Blackout and multiplayer have that attractive gameplay loop that keeps you drawn in. The multiplayer does get some narrative direction from the Specialist HQ, which serves as a good training ground for each of the multiplayer characters. Their introductory missions are laced with story cutscenes. The story Specialist HQ tells is a little hard to follow as there's no specific order for the specialists, but it's neat nonetheless. Zombies also includes 2 storylines, though those are definitely harder to follow than a normal campaign because the story of each map is hidden behind Easter egg challenges. Black Ops has a list of technical and balance issues infecting each of its weapons. However, Treyarch has top of those issues, continuously updating their blog with information on what they're actively looking at and fixing. This communication is important for a multiplayer game with a high life expectancy, especially at launch. I look forward to seeing how user feedback for equipment like the 9-Bang, general bugs in zombies, and erratic spawn issues in multiplayer change Black Ops 4 in the future. This year, IGN split its Black Ops 4 review to better evaluate each mode. Our scores were determined independently, and the final score for Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is a reflection of my overall opinion of the game, not an average of all 3. We've provided the other 3 individual scores for your reference.
Oh, maybe mix it with a little whiskey next time.
Black Ops 4 Zombies is a showcase from a confident team. There's a lot of content here, and it's slick, well-paced, and rewarding, whether you're running it for the first time or the 100th. With the 10-year anniversary of Call of Duty Zombies looming, there's never been a better time to grab some friends, chug in a liquor, and see how long you can survive.
UAV established above.
Black Ops 4's multiplayer lets players be more tactical without sacrificing the excitement of engagements. The reworked health system and specialists offer great, mostly balanced tools that allow for more creative playstyles and cater to strategic teams and lone wolves alike. Just about every weapon class in Black Ops 4's arsenal feels like a viable option too, though automatic weapons remain the most popular. As good as these changes are, Black Ops 4 is held back by a few of its more narrow maps that feel stale after just a few playthroughs. Even worse are the unfortunate design choices around spawn areas that allow aggressive enemies to pick off players just as they're coming up. Despite these flaws, Black Ops 4 keeps pulling back in to unlock cool operator mods for my favorite weapons and experiment with loadouts in the fun new heist mode.
In lieu of significant innovation, Call of Duty Black Ops 4's Blackout instead presents a remarkably polished and intuitive of the basic Battle Royale formula. Everything from the creative perks and equipment to the familiar Call of Duty locations works remarkably well in the dynamic Battle Royale space, and some elements, like the arcade shooting, are even enhanced as a result of it. The plethora of technical issues ranging from simple fixes to more involved workarounds on PC are concerning, but ultimately didn't stop me or my friends from playing and having a great time. I thoroughly look forward to playing Blackout in the months to come, and hope that Call of Duty's annualized release cadence doesn't interfere with the frequency and longevity of post-launch support that I expect from the genre.
Each aspect of Black Ops 4 introduces some great new ideas that continue to evolve the series. In multiplayer, active healing gives players more control, and paired with specialists, it makes for a great tactical experience. The new heist mode is a wonderful palate cleanser too. Zombies thrives from having more than just 2 launch maps. The beginner mode is a fantastic way to ease into the tense action, while Rush keeps the maps feeling fresh. Blackout is the most exciting of the 3 though. Instead of bringing some crazy twist to Battle Royale, Treyarch smartly uses the format to combine past Black Ops offerings into a fun, hectic mode that entices us to jump in over and over again. Black Ops 4's rough edges do hold it back from an even better execution of its best moments. But when you're not experiencing those technical issues, any of Black Ops 4's 3 modes make for an enjoyable shooter experience that feels distinct and personalized. For an even more in-depth look at Black Ops 4's individual modes, be sure to check out our Zombies, Blackout, and multiplayer reviews. And for everything else, keep it on IGN.
Hi, I'm Sean, and welcome to Force Labs. I'll be honest, I was going to write off Black Ops 4. When I saw the announcement trailer, I just sort of sighed and rolled my eyes. I thought that that would be all the thought I was going to give the game. But thankfully, Activision sent me a review code, so here we are. Admittedly, as time went on, I found just a shred of excitement for the game, which was a strange feeling because I hadn't felt excitement for a Call of Duty game in years. Normally, I would start this review off by talking about the campaign, but Black Ops 4 doesn't have a campaign mode. It's been foregone to focus solely on multiplayer, and I can't say that I entirely blame Treyarch. Campaign has been, to put it bluntly, bad in recent years. Campaign went from being one of the biggest and most exciting parts of the Call of Duty game to a tacked-on, dull, and forgetful experience that a decent amount of people don't even bother playing anymore. It's a big reason as to why Call of Duty found itself in a rut. Campaign used to be a large reason why people bought the games. They had rich stories, great characters, and excellent gameplay, but those years are long gone. The decision to remove Campaign from Black Ops 4 isn't a bad one, but I can't say I agree with the logic behind it. It sort of comes across as, well, we're going to screw it up anyways, so let's just focus on what works. Without a campaign mode, it's fair to say that the other areas of the game should be juiced up and enhanced to make the $60 price tag worth it. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to add some Mountain Dew to this class every time the game has worthwhile content. So Black Ops 4 has 3 different modes to play: multiplayer, zombies, and blackout, which is where we'll be starting. Was anyone actually surprised that the new Call of Duty game included Battle Royale? At first, I laughed and thought that by the time the game came out, the trend would be over and people wouldn't care about it anymore. However, I was wrong. Blackout is surprisingly decent, and that's coming from someone who was really tired of the Battle Royale trend. One of the most interesting things that they've done with Blackout is how they've implemented iconic Black Ops maps like Nuketown and Firing Range into the larger Blackout map. However, I'm disappointed with the overall theme of the map. At this point, many of us have been playing Battle Royale for 2+ years, and the map theme is far too similar to other maps. I'm tired of rolling green hills with trees and rocky outcrops. Yes, there is a desert section of the map, but most of that area is just a wasteland and not really that interesting anyways. I'm sick of farm fields, farmhouses, barns, sheds, restaurants, all exactly the same, and just this general. I know there's only so many things and working with such large spaces, but come on, a little bit of creativity here would have gone a long way. That being said, given the chosen theme, they were able to squeeze out a lot of very different looks in it. Theme aside, the map plays well. There's interesting places to drop, like the aforementioned iconic Black Ops maps or this giant construction tower, and the Asylum, which is full of zombies. I mean, who saw that coming in a Battle Royale map? Enough of the map is covered with structures, so you don't ever feel like you're running through empty fields for that long. Unless, of course, you run into
My name
where
is
all the windmills are.
Face Ninja
That's
25.
just a wasteland. When the zone forces all the players into a part of the map where there isn't
This is a
interesting, just
walkthrough.
hills, it's boring. It's the exact same experience you've had tons of
Walkthrough
times fighting between
Call of
rocks.
Duty Black Ops 4.
Think about how much more interesting it would be if the entire map was a city composed of accessible and non-accessible buildings with rooftops, parking lots, sewers, shops, subway tunnels, highways, alleys, etc. I understand that something like this is substantially more difficult to make, but it would create much more interesting gameplay than just shooting at each other in the field while taking cover behind rocks and trees. Blackout's weapons are on par with other BR games. If anything, there's probably a larger variety than its competitors. I have a bit of an issue with the weapons themselves, and I'll get into that a little bit later on, but first, here's some of the weapon types you'll find in Blackout. You've got your run-of-the-mill pistols, which are really only slightly useful in the first few moments of a match, but even then, you can almost always find a better weapon nearby, so they're really never used. Shotguns are here too, like pistols. I've really only used them in the first few minutes of a match while you're looking for something better. I will say that they're useful in the chaotic purge that takes place when the match starts, since you'll likely be in close quarters to other players after a fresh drop, but later on in the match, most of your fights are at a distance. Then you've got your SMGs that generally shoot low caliber rounds. Like shotguns and pistols, I really only use these to protect myself while looking for better weapons at the beginning of a round. Assault rifles are your bread and butter. My personal go-to in Blackout is the ICR, but there's plenty of others to pick from. There's also light machine guns. Some of them are just awful, while others shred players apart. For whatever reason, I ended up using them quite a lot, despite the fact that I almost never use LMGs in any other games ever. There's also long-range rifles like the Outlaw and the Auger DMR, which are obviously good to have for long-distance fights. Landing headshots with them is incredibly satisfying, although apparently the game doesn't give you a headshot multiplier. Then there's the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is so much fun that oftentimes I would forgo an assault rifle or even a sniper rifle just to carry one around. Shooting an enemy helicopter out of the sky with this thing is just hilarious.
Supply drop inbound.
Oh! See ya.
In total, Blackout has 25 weapons, technically 26 if you include the ray gun, which I've yet to find. In my opinion, that's a lot of weapons, and that's a good thing. In addition to weapons, there's also equipment and perks that you can find and pick up, both of which are a very welcome extension to Battle Royale. You can find items like laser wire, a recon car, a deployable shield, a grappling hook, and much more. One of the most useful is the sensor dart, and it completely changes the game. Sensor darts can be used both offensively and defensively. For example, if you're being chased by either the zone or a group of players and need to take refuge in a building, you can fire a sensor dart at it immediately to detect if there's players inside.
or you can set one up proactively near wherever you're hiding to find other players who are going to sneak up on you.
But what's even more interesting is sticking one to a helicopter and flying over the map to act as a poor man's UAV.
Alright, you guys wanna go straight to like somewhere safe? Like up here, or you wanna like, where you wanna go? We can fight. I don't care if we do. I thought we just scanned the building and we could go over it.
For whatever reason, I assumed that Call of Duty's take on Battle Royale would mean selecting your perks prior to dropping in, but instead they're found around the map.
They're only one-time use and only last anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes after activating.
They're mostly unique for Battle Royale. Paranoia gives you an audible cue in the form of whispers when someone is looking at you, while Outlander allows you to move quicker and take less damage if you're outside of the circle. With 16 pieces of equipment and 14 perks, that's a lot of additional stuff for Battle Royale. Vehicles are fantastic. There's a helicopter, a military jeep, an ATV, and a boat. What Blackout does differently from other VR games, like PUBG that use multi-person vehicles, Blackout opted to not assign players to seats in the jeep and boat. What that means is that passengers can move freely and shoot as they please while you drive. This is much better than being locked to a seat. There's nothing more frustrating than being killed while you're not able to move your character.
Blackout fixes that by allowing players to crouch and move around vehicles as they please,
and is far less punishing if you decide to bail out. I'm always in favor of giving players as much control as possible. It makes for a far better experience.
You are, however, locked in place in the
Helicopter, which is understandable. Regardless, the helicopter is hilarious. It's a ton of fun and surprisingly not overpowered.
You're a massive target to pretty much everyone on the map as you fly around, and it's not all that difficult to shoot down a helicopter. It's a great way to get around the map quickly, but it's really risky. As is the case with any flying vehicle in the game, hilarity always accompanies it.
Oh, what? That killed me! He bombed us! Oh my god.
Look, it's no secret that Blackout is heavily inspired by the trend that
PUBG popularized last year.
There's no disputing that. But Blackout is a very polished and fluid Battle Royale experience. And I think that is its greatest strength.
I thought that I was done with the Battle Royale trend, as none of the other games interested me all that much anymore. I can't even remember the last time I played PUBG or Fortnite. In spite of that, I thoroughly enjoyed Blackout and look forward to every night
when all my friends get in line and we get to play. Of the 3 game modes in this game, I was least excited for multiplayer. I haven't cared for a futuristic Call of Duty game before, with the exception of the Modern Warfare series, which is technically futuristic as it was set in 2007, I believe, and the first game released in 2007. But that's my point. None of the extras have ever interested me. Attacks or wall running or any of that sort of thing in a Call of Duty game. And I know that Black Ops 4 didn't have that, but I still kind of felt like it fell into that category. So as a result, I didn't plan on playing multiplayer at all, but I did certainly properly review the game. And despite there being a lot of problems with it, I don't think it's all that bad. It's certainly better than I expected. Like Black Ops 3, which, for the record, I've never played and didn't even know existed until I saw the trailer for Black Ops 4, the gameplay centers around specialists. Every specialist has their own respective abilities and fills somewhat of a role on a team. With specialists focused on defense, offense, tactics, and more, it adds an additional element to the traditional Call of Duty experience, which is surprisingly present in this futuristic title. It's mostly boots on the ground, with the exception of specialists like Ruin, who uses a grappling hook and a gravity slam, where he slams enemies like Mario does Goombas. In total, there's 10 specialists, which for the most part are different from one another. It was a creative decision to go this route, and they did a good job with it for what it is. In total, there's 25 weapons in the game, which is certainly a step up from World War II, but to me, it still doesn't feel great. To put it into perspective, Modern Warfare 2 had 44 weapons. That's nearly double. I mean, just look at the selection of assault rifles. There's only 5. For a game that's missing a campaign mode, you would think that it would at the very least have the same number of guns as a game in the series
at War had 30 weapons, and it was limited to weaponry from the World War II era. Black Ops 4 uses fictional weapons and therefore could have an infinite number of possibilities. Since the weapons in this game don't shoot lasers or electricity, but rather standard caliber ammunition, as we see in Blackout, I don't see why they couldn't have thrown some real-world weapons into the mix. All these futuristic weapons look exactly the same to me. At best, they look like the ugliest guns from Modern Warfare 2. Remember the F-2000? Who the hell wanted to use that thing? Well, all the guns in this game are the F-2000. They just have no character to them and are so dull and boring. And that extends into their functionality.
They all play pretty much the same. There's nothing really that makes any of them feel unique from one another. Once you've used one assault rifle, you've pretty much used them all. That's problematic because it demolishes the fun of unlocking new weapons. Leveling up and getting new weapons in Call of Duty was what made it special.
It gave you a new way to experience the game every few levels, which kept it entertaining and therefore kept you playing. But because all of the weapons look the same and play the same, ranking up and unlocking stuff doesn't feel rewarding. The weapons to me feel like the bare minimum of what's required of an FPS game in 2018 and nothing more. So for that, the game earns a small amount of Mountain Dew here because it is game content, but like I said,
It's the bare minimum.
one of the biggest selling points behind the multiplayer is that the game included 14 maps, which is a massive step up from World War II's 9 at launch. So fair is fair, 14 is a lot for a game to ship with. Whoa.
Sure, there is 14 maps in the game, but many of those maps play the exact same as one another. Sadly, a lot of those 14 maps play exactly the same as one another.
They're plagued by the same issue that's been affecting Call of Duty for years at this point. The 3-lane design template. There's nothing inherently wrong about the 3-lane design at a base level, and you could argue that most multiplayer maps use a 3-lane design
At least in some capacity, but when most of the maps in the game use it in the exact same way, consisting of tight corridors and little to no open spaces,
all of your maps are going to play and feel the exact same. And that's the issue with
Black Ops 4. Players are always funneled into specific directions with little care for autonomy. The issue is that because you're always
forced down the same lanes
all of the time, it crushes the sustainability of these maps and makes none of them feel unique.
Ultimately, the issue I have with the maps is that most of them don't really stand out to me. It's not a huge deal, and there's some maps that do stand out and are quite fun. I was just hoping for some more well-designed and memorable maps. Let's do a little experiment. When you think about multiplayer maps, what are the first 3 that pop into your head? Mine are Halo 3's Guardian, The Pit, and Modern Warfare 2's Terminal. All 3 of these maps are highly memorable. They have both strong themes and great map design.
Multiplayer has a decent selection of games. As I mentioned, my favorite is Control. Conceptually, it's been done before in other games, but it works really well in Black Ops 4 Sandbox.
It's clear that either a lot of specialist abilities were designed with Control in mind or vice versa. They play off one another really well.
I equally enjoy setting up defenses as Torque and watching idiotic players run into
My razor wire then die as much as I love clearing out a room with fire breaks reactive core.
Exposing core. Hostile civilian. The enemy team is running low on lives.
Also, what is with Call of Duty and blocking off parts
of the map now in such lazy ways?
There's so many invisible barriers in this game that you just constantly run into and get clipped by.
And it gets worse when you're using Ruin. Some buildings are okay to grapple and hook onto, while others you're met with an invisible barrier with no warning.
I get that they need to block off areas for balancing issues, but at the very least, they can make the reticle of the grappling hook go red if you're trying to use it in an area where you'll hit an invisible barrier. Despite the issues with
Multiplayer, it's still enjoyable. It's fast-paced and fluid, rounds are quick and energetic, and before you know it, you've played several matches. It's far more than I expected from a modern Call of Duty game. I'll admit, I didn't know what the hell was going on with zombies half the time. The last time I played zombies was back when it was just about surviving as long as you could and picking up some perks and weapons along the way. While it's still still similar on paper, there are some big changes to the mode which caused some controversy in the zombies community. One of the biggest is the perk system. 3 of the biggest perks were removed from zombies with no replacements: Double Tap, Juggernaut, and Speed. To many, these perks are what gave the game mode charm. Having not played much zombies for a long time, I can't speak to the differences between the versions as well as I'd like to, but I can, however, look at the game mode without the bias of having played a lot of zombies in the past and judge it as its own thing. Zombies feels much bigger now. Call of Duty World War II only launched with 1 zombie map, while Black Ops 4 shipped with 3. Shortly after diving into zombies, I encountered my first issue with it. I looked up and realized I was already several rounds into it without even knowing. There is a small audible cue and a visual pop-up on screen that tells you you've completed a wave, but you often don't notice it because there's so much going on at once. The problem with this is that it sort of kills what zombies was all about. It makes surviving waves way less rewarding and therefore destroys your sense of progression. Instead, it seems like the game almost wants you to focus on exploring and uncovering Easter eggs instead. It feels like the whole survive as many waves as you can idea has taken a backseat to push the story and narrative of zombies instead. And I understand why that is. They want to make sure that they're expanding the zombies mode, which means implementing a story, intro cinematics for each map, and things to do in the map itself. If it was just a simple round-based survival mode like it used to be, a lot of people would be criticizing it for not having enough content. It's sort of a catch-22 situation here. Expanding it too much, and it gets away from what it was. Not expanding it enough, and it gets criticized for being light on content. I believe there exists a middle ground somewhere, and I think that would have came in the form of a classic mode.